Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Jungle Show here on Auburn Daily's YouTube channel, Facebook live stream, and Twitch live stream. Today, we are here to talk about all things Wendell Green Jr. Icy Wynn is back for his now sophomore season at Auburn in this upcoming season, looking to take on a whole new role. We will discuss that in my new article that will be coming out on auburndaily.com, and we will go through that, all that and more next on the Jungle Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jungle Show here on Auburn Daily. We are here to talk about Wendell Green. I'm super pumped, super excited for this. I'm super excited to actually have my co-host back with me. My dad, Chris, is back here in the studio, aka my room. And we're here to talk about Wendell Green. I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time, not only being able to write an article about Wendell, but also being able to talk here on the Jungle Show about him.
Exciting player, fun to talk about, fun to watch, and he's coming back, which makes it even better. So
that's exciting.
He seems like a great kid who has a lot of fun being out there on the court.
Yes, I completely agree. So we're going to just go right through the article, and we're just going to kind of talk about things about in the article. The article is not published on auburndaily.com yet, but it will be soon, hopefully by tonight.
Don't give away spoilers.
Well, we're going to go through the article itself. If you would like to read it, it should be up hopefully sometime after the show. I'll tweet it out once it goes live. You can find my Twitter right there at Gray Oldenburg, or once it goes live, it will also be on his Twitter or on SI_Auburn on Twitter. But let's get right into this. The first thing that I mentioned in the article is Bruce Pearl's reputation with those small, undersized, quick guards. I mean, you talk about guys like Jared Harper, Javon McCormick, Sharif Cooper. Wendell Green goes and fits right into that category and is showing that early promise in his career, just like Jared did. And I guess Sharif never got that opportunity to show that, or Javon, because he was only here for 2 years, but shows that offensive impact, the scoring ability, the facilitating ability, being able to run the offense. And he showed it as a freshman, and we know that he wasn't necessarily a freshman, being an experienced freshman. Yeah. Yes, a second-year freshman is a perfect way of saying that. But his reputation just gets better and better and better with these guards, and Wendell fits that role perfectly.
Yeah, I know Bruce has the reputation of smaller point guards, and they're very exciting to watch.
Yeah.
But my issue is one of those smaller point guards is in the league right now and should be on a team. Yeah. But because he's not 6'4", he's not on a team. Oh, he's on a team. He's not getting minutes at the big league level. So hopefully people saw, I think you talked about all the summer stuff last week, but Jared Harper needs to be on a team somewhere. And after Wendell goes another year or two, Wendell Green will need to be on a team somewhere. He's an NBA player.
I agree. He's got that talent. He's got that I do mention he's got a certain swag in his game.
He does have swag.
That look, I don't know. It's something about Wendell Green. His impact is better than you would think a guy at his size and his class in terms of him being a freshman would be.
He's a good finisher around the rim, so he seems taller than he is there.
Yeah.
He rebounds really well, especially for a smaller point guard. He's a good rebounder.
He averaged 3.7 rebounds a game, which at his size,
that's a lot for a 5'11" point guard.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe 5'11", maybe he's 6 feet. I don't know.
Well, with his hair,
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah. But his swag combined with Jabari's swag last year
Great.
was and KD's psychoness really propelled some of the team last year. But you're right. Wendell is maybe plays a little bit bigger than he is, and can finish. He's again. We said this early on in the year. He reminds me of Jared Harper a lot.
Yeah.
He's not as good of a shooter. Hopefully that comes along. But he definitely reminds me of Jared Harper, finishing at the rim, ability to get by people.
Yeah.
Sharif Cooper had that too. Nobody could stay in front of him. So hopefully we'll see more of that this year.
I agree. And we talk about his ability, and I don't really mention his ability to finish in the article, but his finishing ability does remind me a lot of Jared Harper. The ability to get by people, just with a simple dribble. I mean, a simple one step, and he's by you.
He's quick.
He's very quick. I think some of the freshman things, I don't think we see him attack as hard as Jared did, but that was Jared's junior year. I think Jared looked a lot like, and you compare him, when we compare him to Jared, a lot of times that we try to compare freshman Wendell to junior Jared.
Yeah,
look, he's not there yet.
It's not fair.
He's not there yet. You compare freshman Wendell and freshman Jared,
I'd be interested to see that.
You may be upwards on Wendell more.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see the numbers. I remember Jared, but I don't remember him standing out to me his freshman year. I'm sure he was spectacular. I remember Bruce after his freshman year, I guess, was saying, this kid is worth the price of admission to come see.
Yeah.
You need to come pay to see this kid play. And he was right. He led us to the Final Four, obviously. Wendell, his getting to the rim is great. The fact that when he gets to the rim, if he doesn't make the layup, he's usually going to get fouled. I wish
he's very good at that.
If I could have something different this past year at Arkansas, if he takes that ball to the rim, he's either going to get fouled or make the winning bucket. And he shot a 40-footer and missed, and they went to overtime. So if I could do something different this year, it would be have Wendell attack that basket late game. And he's such a good facilitator. If somebody would have helped off from Jabari, you just knock it out there. But again, I'm kind of going backwards there. He's a great player and fun to watch.
Yeah. So let's get right into this. As I mentioned in the very first part of the article, before we get into most of the categories, Wendell Green transferred from Eastern Kentucky this past offseason. Look, as a freshman at Eastern Kentucky, he was a first team on the OVC.
Dominant.
15.8 points a game, had 5 assists a game as well. He was the star of the OVC in that year. And when he entered the transfer portal, a lot of people saw him not necessarily taking an SEC type of jump, specifically based on his size. But when he decided to come to Auburn, he decided that in May of 2021, he saw not only an opportunity to compete and get minutes and play for a starting job, but he also saw the ability to
play for Bruce Pearl.
He saw that reputation that Bruce had in those smaller guards and what he did with Jared, what he did with Sharif and Javon. So, look, you compete for a starting job with guys with also incoming transfers like Zepp and KD. Green would play in all 34 games, but only start 5. He started the first 5 games of the year, and then they switched and made Zepp the more primary point guard and started KD, which I think was very good for Wendell and KD. I think that worked out for KD as well.
Yeah, KD was going to play anyway.
Yeah. But Green took a very valuable role coming off the bench. And you really saw him because I think it helped him to be able to watch the game play before he got out there.
I think with they started Zepp after 5 games. They flipped it. And I think Bruce likes to have his experienced guards to start the game. And Zepp is a great defender. So he had 2 excellent defenders to start the game. And then he'd inject Wendell in there. And Wendell was instant offense, not just his offense. But I think you mentioned in the article, the team seems to play better around him when he's on the floor.
Yeah.
And get better shots and that swag that he brings on the floor. I don't think it's that Zepp doesn't have swag. I think it's that Zepp's more on the defensive end. And Wendell just came in and the offense seemed to pick up a notch during those.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned. His biggest strength, all I could narrow it down to was offense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is nothing against his valueness on the defensive end. I think he's a good defender at his size and at his length, and being a freshman, I think he's a great defender.
What I'd like to see him do is get better like Jared did of taking charges. Jared became one of those guys that just he always jumped your route, to use a football term, and jumped the route and got run over, and it's a charge.
Yeah.
I think Wendell can do that, and I think Wendell can make that better, make a jump on the defensive end by doing that this year.
I agree. But back to Wendell Green's offense. He became one of the more reliable scorers that Auburn had, averaging 12 points a game and 5.1 assists per game. So he became one of the options, just like Chris said. The
Sorry, it's weird for you to call me Chris. I'm sorry. Just laugh. Sorry.
The offense ran smoother and better when he was on the floor, and it showed in plus minus. And this stat is just ridiculous to me. He led the SEC by a completely wide margin with a plus 208 total plus minus on the season. And
who was the next closest you said?
I think it was Sheway at like plus 70.
208 plus 208 is just
for somebody coming off the bench.
Yeah, plus 208 for a bench player.
Yeah,
plus 100 in a year is really, really incredibly good. Sheway's a player of the year.
Yeah,
he was plus 70.
Yeah.
So when Wendell was in the game, the team performed better.
Yeah.
Offensively, especially, they just did. I don't take anything away from Zepp. I think Zepp is in the exact right position as the starting point guard, and will probably be the starting point guard again next year.
Yeah.
But having Wendell come off the bench and give you a plus 208, is just that's stupid.
He's special. Crazy. He's really special at being able to make the offense run smoother, no matter who's out there with him.
Right.
And I made a note in the article. Everybody played their best when Wendell was out there.
There's no doubt.
And that goes for Jabari. That goes for Walker. That goes for Dylan Cardwell, especially Dylan Cardwell. Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
Guys played better when Wendell was out on the floor, whether that was they were getting easier shots because Wendell was getting them easier shots, or they were getting in better position because he was running the offense smoother, or we're running out in transition and it's easier for Flanagan to score in transition, or whatever. He made the offense better, just like Zepp and KD and Walker made the defense better.
And I think that part of that is his ability to break down a defender and go by him. Defenses had to recognize that and had to plan on it and help off of that.
Yeah.
Whereas Zepp was not going to go by you as an offensive. He didn't have that lightning quick first step to get by you.
Mm-hmm.
Wendell did, and because of that, people sloughed off their people into the lane, and it gave people open shots.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking more about Green's offensive games, he had this incredible ability to get hot and stay hot, especially shooting the ball. He had 8 games where he had at least 19 or more points.
Mm-hmm.
This is him always coming off the bench. He had 7 games where he had at least 7 assists. So there were games where he was really plugging the stat sheet, just being him, just playing his game. He had games like Morehead State. The first game of the year, he had 19 points. I was there for that game. I was like, that's Jared Harper.
Yeah, that's where we got the Jared Harper reference.
So, and look, he shoots the ball well from the free throw line at 84%, one of the top of the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's very good at closing out games.
He shoots the ball.
We talk about there's a reason you want him out on the floor during the end of games. And we talked a little about you talked a little bit about the Arkansas finish, and yes, that could have been handled better. Don't know if you can necessarily put that on Wendell, though.
Maybe not. So, I just wish he would have attacked. I wish he would have attacked like he did against Georgia.
Where
he drove the length of the court after Walker got the rebound and laid it up and missed it and got it back and went up and made it and won the game. That's what I wanted him to do against Arkansas. And I think as he gets more comfortable this year, maybe he'll be more aggressive and not just rely on three-point shooting. He's a really good three-point shooter, but he needs to be a really, really good three-point. He needs to get better. He needs to shoot above 40%.
I agree. And Wendell shot 31% this last year. I don't think that's good enough with the amount of threes that he's shooting. I don't think that's good enough because that shows that he's getting that the offense is just going through him. Yeah. And that we don't need to do that. We're not Eastern Kentucky. We don't need to do that. We can look at,
He's got some dudes that he can get it to, and he's shown the ability to get it to people, and he's shown the ability, like you said, to get hot. The A&M game in the tournament, for goodness' sake, if it weren't for him in the second half,
lost by 30.
It would have been awful.
Yeah.
But like he was coming across half court and pulling up and shooting, and they were going in. I know he can make the 3-point shot, but he needs to make 40% of them.
I agree.
Not 31%.
I agree, but you like to see that kind of confidence in a kid like that's game because
that's swag.
Him shooting that shot in the Arkansas game shows that he knows he can make that shot. He just didn't make it, and I know that one was a hard one for me to swallow as well. I know it was for you.
Still got the heebie-jeebies from that game.
Not the heebie-jeebies.
I do.
I don't know about that. So the next category that that was in the article, what can they improve on the most? We'll talk about what can they improve on the most. I know everybody can improve on everything, but yeah, I assume you're meaning
three-point shooting. I want him to make 1,000 threes a day until the season starts, and I know he's working on it.
I think he does. Yeah.
Those dudes work hard on that, so. I don't doubt that he's working on it. He's got to shoot above 40%.
Yeah. I say consistency, and a lot of that is efficiency. And you can point that on anything. You can point that on him averaging 2.2 turnovers this season and only 26 minutes a game, which is not terrible, especially for a freshman point guard. But you like to see 2.2 go down to 1.6 or 1.5. And the coaches think about this sort of thing and think about what kind of impact that would have on the game. He shot 31.7% from three, shooting 5 threes a game. That's not very good because that's most of the time you're going, 2 of 7, maybe 3 of 10. Maybe one game you go 5 of 9. Most games you go 1 of 4, if that, 1 of 5. So it's just – I know.
You got a little asthma attack going on. That's all right. Take a puff while I talk about Wendell. Because you're right. He's got to get better at shooting the three. Something with the turnovers, when that happens, what you get, the difference between Zep Jasper, who averaged almost no turnovers a game. And Wendell, who averaged 2.2 or whatever, is the fact that Wendell's going to take more chances with the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to drive into traffic. He's going to get by his guy and attack. And he's going to turn the ball over a time or two a game.
Yeah.
That's all right, because you're getting the attack out of it. With Zepp wasn't attacking like that, so he didn't usually turn the ball over or risk turnover.
You're right.
Wendell's is more aggressive on the offensive end and is going to turn the ball over. Do I want him to never turn the ball over? Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Do I want him to get down under 2? I would think with the kind of minutes he's getting, he needs to be under 2.
Yeah.
But again, I want him to shoot over 40% from the 3. I want him to keep shooting mid 80s from the free throw line. Do you know how many assists he averaged?
5.1.
5.1. That's pretty dang good in 26 minutes.
I like that. No, I like that.
He can probably even bump that up a little bit, but 5.1 is pretty dang good.
Well, yeah, he had games where he went for 11 assists, but he also had games where he didn't have an assist and he had 4 turnovers.
Yeah,
it's just
those have got to stop.
Yes, it's just that ability to be consistent and be efficient in your game, and that's exactly why I said what they can improve on the most.
Those 0 assists, 7 turnover games or whatever,
they got to stop.
Can't have those.
No,
they'll lose those games.
Yep.
You
don't have Jabari Smith.
No,
we will lose those games.
No, but he's also a good rebounder. So you keep that up. I want him to keep doing that. And then you want him to get better on the defensive end. He's not bad, like you said, but consistency on the defensive end. Yeah. Being a guy that Coach Pearl, because it's all about the defensive end from Bruce Pearl.
Well, you see KD, Walker,
to play
and Zepp, yeah.
So if he can improve that, he probably earn even more minutes.
Yeah.
So, but 3-point shooting and consistency, not turning the ball over, is probably it.
Yeah, I can agree. So the next category in the article, and I think you can pick yours from this one, and I don't know where you would go for this outside of mine, but best moment from 2021, and mine is a pair of games.
Yeah.
Mine is a pair of 2 games where he combined for 42 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists in those 2 games, and was probably the best player on the floor in both of those games. Maybe not one of them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Both games against the other state from the other side of the school from the other side of the state against Alabama. He was incredible in both of those games. In both those games, he made plays and made shots where it was like, what?
Yeah, the Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, he got hot there during that one stretch. Mm-hmm. The stretch where he and Jabari come back down looking in the camera and he's dusting himself off. That was awesome. He was on fire during that stretch. I think everybody played pretty good in the game at Auburn, including, by the way, their guards who couldn't miss. That's the only reason that game was even within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But it's hard to argue that the Georgia game, because he won the game, was a memory. I thought he played well in the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to come up with other games that he stood out, and I can't. That game at Alabama, though, I know he didn't score as much as he did against Alabama at home.
Yep.
But the points that he scored were just really. He made some moves in that game where, like you said, you just look at the TV and go, I don't know how you're going to guard that, Alabama.
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. No, I
just don't know.
I remember talking to one of my buddies who's an Alabama fan after.
Why is he a buddy?
Yeah, well,
just kidding.
Right at like a few minutes after that game ended, I called him to discuss the game. Discuss the game in a professional manner.
Yeah, glow.
Yeah.
He called you after the football game, I'm sure.
Yes, he did.
So
yes, he did.
You could return him the favor.
So when I was talking to him, his very first thing, Jabari scored 25 in that game, was the leading scorer and was
number 3.
Unbelievable. He was unbelievable. his first thing, he was like, I don't know why Wendell Green's not starting. I don't know why y'all think he's not the second best player on the team, because he is. And when I thought about that, I was like, well, Walker's the second best player on the team. I know Walker's the second best player on the team.
In that game, though, the refs hated Walker Kessler.
Yep. And
SEC officiating did what they tend to do.
Yep.
And got mad and held a grudge because Walker's taller than everybody else.
Yes. I wanted to point out another game that we were at against Vandy at home. He didn't score a lot. He didn't shoot the ball a lot because Jabari was shooting the ball a lot. Jabari had 31 in that game, but Wendell had 12 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. He was close to a triple-double, and I kept looking at the video board in Auburn Arena, now Neville Arena. I kept looking at the video board like Wendell is on pace for a triple-double right now. And if he did not get pulled with like 4 minutes left, he would have gotten a triple-double. He was on pace the entire time.
Say the stats again. He had 12
points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds.
Yeah, the fact that a 5'11" point guard is that close to a triple-double. I mean, you expect the points and you expect the assists, but for him to go in there and get close to 10 rebounds is really good. And
that wasn't the only game he did that.
No.
There was a lot of games where it was like, okay, Wendell's got, 10,
6, 8, 9. He led the team
rebounds
in
and
rebounding a couple times.
Yeah. There were a few games where I was like, why is Wendell leading us in rebounding?
Yeah, that's not a good thing typically, but he has a nose for the ball, and he's not afraid to stick it in there and go, this is my ball, I'm taking it. And if he gets a defensive rebound, he can lead the fast break and dish it. But you're right, that game against Vanderbilt, he was passing the ball because Jabari was on fire in that game.
Absolutely.
That was Jabari against Pippen.
Yeah, that was a fun game to be at.
It was.
That was a fun game to watch. That was a fun game to see the number 3 pick turn into the number 3 pick. Well,
should have been the number 1 pick.
Yeah. All right,
you're lost, Orlando.
Yeah. So we got the next category here: expectations for 2022 through 2023 for next season. And I think this is interesting because I think a lot of people have different opinions on this. I think it's easy to have a lot of different opinions on this in terms of, I think if Zepp would have left, everybody would have the same opinion. But Zepp didn't leave. Zepp's staying.
Yep.
Where does Wendell fit? Because KD's coming back. You plug in Trey Donaldson. You plug in Chance Westry. Flanagan's coming back. The backcourt is really good and really experienced. Where does Wendell fit? And you got to fit Wendell somewhere. I think he's going to be a very rolled player. I don't know if he's going to be a starter. I think there's a high chance he could be a starter. I don't know who he would jump. That's the problem.
I think you keep your guard lineup the same as you had it last year.
Yeah,
because it worked.
Yeah.
And Wendell's that first guard off the bench.
Yeah.
And you expect him to come in and, like we said, shoot 40% from 3, 85% from the line, and get 5 or 6 boards and 7 assists.
Yeah.
In minutes. I think the one that's going to get not left out because he's a freshman, but not play except in mop up is Trey.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Trey's a freshman, and he's in a loaded backcourt.
Yeah.
Next year, KD's gone, Zepp is gone, and Flanagan is gone. So that way you've got Wendell will stay, and you'll get Trey coming in and Chance Westry, who all reports that I've heard, Chance Westry is the real deal.
I've heard that he could be competing Flanagan for the starting job.
Yeah. He's also running at the
crazy.
Point a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a 6'6" kid who played point guard in high school.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I think this year, look, Wendell's a superstar. He was a superstar last year coming off the bench, and he'll be a superstar again.
He will be
year.
a superstar no matter where he comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But he'll come off the bench. Bruce will keep his – Bruce doesn't like to change a lot.
True.
He likes to keep his veterans starting the game out.
Which is
And
why
it
I think
worked.
Flanagan stays.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if Westry jumps Flanagan. That's a story.
Yeah,
because that means Westry's been
unreal,
even better. And look, we get to see him play in a week.
And look, we'll wrap up everything here about Wendell Green and discuss that here in just a second. And I want to pull up when they're going to play because I'm super pumped about this. And I'm going
to Israel.
Yep.
They're going to play 3 games in Israel, and all 3 games are at noon Central. I don't know the dates. You're pulling up the dates.
Yep, I am.
At noon Central on the SEC network. The SEC network is carrying Auburn games from Israel.
You know who's going to call this game? Jay Billis is going to be calling this game.
Is he really?
He's calling the game.
Yeah. I love
from
that.
Israel. All right.
Even as a Carolina guy, I like Jay Billis.
I got the dates. Obviously, they're all at 12 p.m. Central or 12 p.m. Central. They're all at noon.
Uh-huh.
They all will be televised on SEC Network on August 2nd, which is
not next week, but the week after.
11 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. They will play the Israel under-20 national team.
Okay. Should destroy them.
Yeah. On August 7th, they will play the Israel All-Star Select team.
Okay. Maybe a better game.
Yeah. And on August 8th, the very next day, they will play the Israeli national team.
That'll be a good game.
That's exciting.
And the fact
they're not going over there and playing, a bunch of high school kids.
No.
They're going over there playing professionals.
No. The second
exciting.
2 games especially are professional basketball teams.
Yeah.
It'll be a great opportunity for Bruce to see what he's got, for the kids to go to Israel. Bruce, being a Jewish man, to take that group over to Israel would be really cool.
Yeah,
I'd love to just tag along just so I could go to Israel.
Of course,
but to go there and to be able to watch 3 games and at least we get to see them on TV. They went to Italy 2-3 years ago
for the Final Four year,
and we just heard about it and saw video clips from it.
Yeah.
This way we'll actually get to talk that 8th or 9th, whatever that Friday is, about real basketball.
So here's what I'm thinking for the schedule of the Sake of the Jungle show. Next week, we're going to pause our player preview series, and instead of continuing that next week, we're going to continue that more, when we're basically into football season. Which is just wonderful that's so close.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I'm thinking we do and I'm getting this idea from Justin Ferguson of the Auburn Observer. We do a draft where we go head to head, back and forth, picking players and who we think would win in a head-to-head matchup.
So you draft 5 guys?
You draft
Auburn
probably
players
6 guys.
Off of this team.
Off of this upcoming team. And we talk about each one of them, talk about matchups, talk about, what that would be like if they went off head to head. So I think that'd be fun. I think that'll give me a week of researching, I guess, or watching highlights or games. So I'm excited about that. Be sure to tune in or listen.
Look, pick your best 6 on out of the team too.
Absolutely,
send it in.
Absolutely, send it in. Send it
to see what
on Twitter.
Absolutely,
best 6. We're gonna draft head to head next week, and see who goes, and then y'all let us know who you think would win that game. Who you think would win that scrimmage if our 2 teams were matched up against each other. But we will do that and get into all of that next week. Hopefully the article will be up soon on auburndaily.com about Wendell Green Jr. You can find that on auburndaily.com or at SI_Auburn. You can find us on Twitter at Gray Oldenburg or at War Eagle Hoops. And until next week, we'll be back for the draft next Friday at 6.